Moving on now, Mike Pence opened his bid for the Republican nomination for the White House with a firm denunciation of former U.S. President Donald Trump.
Yes, and Pence accused his former boss of abandoning conservative principles and being guilty of dereliction of duty. Remember, in January 2021, Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Congress in a bid to thwart the certification of Joe Biden's election victory. Here's the report.
That's why today, before God and my family, I'm announcing that I'm running for President of the United States of America.
Former U.S. Vice President Mike Pence announced on Wednesday that he will challenge his former boss, Donald Trump, for the Republican presidential nomination.
January 6th was a tragic day in the life of our nation.
Once a Trump loyalist, Pence blasted the former president for his role in the 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol.
President Trump's words were reckless. They endangered my family and everyone at the Capitol. But the American people deserve to know that on that day, President Trump also demanded that I choose between him and the Constitution. Now voters will be faced with the same choice. I chose the Constitution, and I always will.
Pence's speech in the early voting state of Iowa marked his most forceful condemnation to date of Trump's part in the Capitol riot, when his former running mate was trying to overturn his 2020 election defeat to Democratic President Joe Biden.
I believe that anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be President of the United States. And anyone who asks someone else to put them over the Constitution should never be President of the United States again.
Many of Trump's diehard supporters view Pence's refusal to overturn the election result as treachery. Pence, who served as governor of Indiana and is a former congressman, still embraces many of Trump's policies, while portraying himself as an even-keeled and consensus-oriented alternative. It is extremely rare for a vice president to run against a president he served under, and it has happened just a handful of times in U.S. history. Pence joins a crowded field of Republican White House hopefuls challenging Trump for the party's presidential nomination. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who at one time was an advisor to Trump, entered the race on Tuesday and also took aim at the former president.
By the way, I voted for him twice. Okay? Am I a Trump voter then? Hell no, man.
North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum also jumped into the race on Wednesday, taking the number of candidates seeking the Republican presidential nomination into double digits. Pence enters the race with a mountain to climb, polling at just 5% and trailing Trump by 44 points, according to a Reuters Ipsos opinion poll in May.
Now, for more on this, we earlier spoke to our correspondent Susan Teherani. She explains what some of Pence's positions are that contrast that of Trump's. Let's listen in.
Mike Pence, who's positioning himself as a traditional conservative, cited the issue of abortion as a prime example of how former President Donald Trump is drifting away from the party's conservative principles. During his speech in Iowa, speaking to that audience, he said, quote unquote, the sanctity of life has been our party's calling for half a century, long before Donald Trump was ever part of it. He also noted that now he, meaning Donald Trump, treats abortion as an inconvenience, even blaming massive losses of the Republican Party in 2022 on overturning Roe v. Wade. More broadly, also, Mike Pence argues that former President Donald Trump and current President Joe Biden really don't stand for American civility. He argued that most Americans get along. However, these two figures have been very divisive, and Pence believes that he can bring the country closer together.
And Susan also explains what effect, if any, will these campaign launches have on Trump's chance of being the nominee.
Trump allies, for the most part, welcomed Mike Pence's entry into the race because they see it and him as a potential drain on votes for Ron DeSantis, not to mention the entry of North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, who also announced his candidacy on Wednesday along with Mike Pence. So for the most part, the Trump campaign believes the more the merrier, because it would mean that he would rise in the polls while DeSantis would have votes taken away from him.